might be getting a text. Okay, good, got it. All right, all right. So you can see my Excel sheet here with some graphics on it, right?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. So the simple explanation is that if you open an account with Direct, it's just an online financial FDIC insured, um, and you have a mortgage with Director's Mortgage. Direct is owned by Mark Hanna, our CEO, but it's a separate organization. And you make all your mortgage payments from that account every month. You get a monthly rewards bonus that you can apply towards your principal, or you can just keep it. Okay. And so here's an example. And if you keep it over the life of the loan, it saves you 10% on a 30-year fixed. On a 15-year fixed, it saves you 5%. So here's an example just to keep some round numbers. For a $500,000 loan at 5% on a 30-year term, your qualifying monthly rewards installment is $63.82. If you apply that to principal every month, then you'll save up to $50,000 over the loan term. And down here, it shows you that if you do it for 20 years, you'll save 26. If you do it for 10 years, you'll save 9,000. You'll also pay off your loan 18.63 months earlier, and it effectively decreases the interest rate by just about a half a point. Although your actual note rate doesn't change, but over the life of your loan, by getting that reward bonus and applying it to your principal, your effective interest rate drops by close to a half a point.
Now, is that 5%, is that already including the 0.25 hit? So was the actual qualified note rate 4.75 and then they got a 0.25
No,
for doing this
no,
program? Because
no,
that's what we were seeing on the last one, is we were
right,
comparing two different interest rates. We had one without direct rewards at, like, let's say 5, and then one with
correct,
direct 5.
correct, right. And that's what I want it to show. So if I were to show this program without using the direct rewards, your interest rate is going to be, 5%, and it's going to show that your payoff is going to be, full 360, months.
So maybe that's the part I'm not understanding, Bo. The 5% there, could they get that with or without the direct rewards program?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
they can.
That's my confusion. When we were looking at that example, we were looking at without direct rewards, it was one rate, and then with
Yes.
direct rewards, it was another rate.
Oh, so what I was trying to show was that if we're competing for a loan and that loan is at 4.75 versus our 5% with direct, I want to show, I don't know that it's better to go direct, but I want to be able to illustrate that over the life of the loan, it is better to go, that our net effective rate is better than that one that's a quarter point lower without direct rewards.
Okay, I see what you're trying to do here.
Okay.
The reason this gave me pause is when I did the math in my head for that extra quarter point that I'm paying, it was like $150 in interest, and I was only getting back 75 in principal to assign to this. So if I went with a competitor and just put an extra 75 bucks in there, I would actually have a greater benefit than I did going with the rewards. Do you know what I mean? Because I wasn't paying the extra quarter point, and I was paying, my payment was actually lower than the one with the extra quarter point and the rewards.
Yeah, no, understand.
So I think maybe we just don't compare it against the other option there. We compare it against itself without the rewards. Do you know what I mean? Because then we actually see the savings of the rewards program. So here's what your loan looks like at 5% without rewards. It's a 30-year payoff. You're going to pay X amount of interest over time. Here's what it looks like with rewards. You're going to pay it off in 20 years instead of 30. You're going to save a boatload of interest as compared to not having direct rewards. but I'm not sure you can compete against a quarter point hit with somebody else, given the impact of what you get here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and maybe it's not a quarter point, maybe it's an eighth. But I was just trying to go apples to apples, because I think the one thing that we were having the issue with is that rewards is not from their pocket. That reward is their reward for using this program. So they're not making that payment. That's given to them.
Right, and I get that. I get
Right.
that.
Right.
I mean, if we were looking at the same rate, I think it would have made a lot more sense to me. Because then we could say this is the actual impact of the rewards. But when
Okay.
we were looking at different rates, we were asking them to pay more interest that actually
No.
exceeded.
I got you. So if we are looking, let's just go to the same rate then. If we are looking, like, if somebody's giving you that home reward every month, wouldn't that effectively at least decrease we should be able to show that can decrease the APR, right?
Yeah, it would decrease the APR, definitely.
Okay.
And it will show the early payoff too, because that
Right. It'll show that, right.
definitely factor in. And it'll show the interest savings as long as you're comparing it to the same loan without the rewards program.
Right. But I still don't think it is giving. Yeah, I still don't think it's giving it's not painting this picture that I want it to paint. And that how much you're saving.
Well, let's try it like this. Let's put one together, if you don't mind. I'll share my screen and I'll just throw
Okay,
one.
great. All right, let me stop sharing now.
We'll see what it looks like.
All right,
I'm going to need
fantastic.
you to help me with the numbers as I go through here.
Okay, yep, got you.
Just
Yeah, let's just use the ones that I've got going on here.
Okay, let me just start
All right.
a new here. And this,
I'm waiting on a text from CEO's assistant when he gets off of a call here. I might need to run in and go talk budgets with him.
so let's just do without rewards. And I'm just going to
Go.
we're using
Right,
20% down, or
Yeah, no, let's go. Yeah, let's make the loan amount 500, because that's what I've got here.
oh, that's the loan amount, not the purchase price.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right, so let's make it 650 for purchase price. And then we'll do 150. Oops, let's change that. 500 for our loan amount. And then we're going to use a 5% interest, 30-year term. Forget
Right.
closing costs and monthly costs.
Yep,
We'll just payments.
Doesn't matter.
And then we'll add another product and copy that. And this is going to be with rewards.
Yep.
Okay, and then the main difference here is this guy here.
Right, so that number is 6382.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to jump over to the reinvestment grid,
Right.
and I'm going to put that 6382 right here. So now I'm saying this is borrower paid, which is why I had to do the negative over on the monthly.
Right.
Not just
Right.
offset. So let's see what we get on our output. Okay, so obviously our payments are equal. We've got the same loan at the same rate.
Right.
When we get down to APR, why am I, oh, you know what? The reason I'm not reducing the APR there is because after TRID, we couldn't do that anymore. Because it was not a firm, it wasn't a firm part of the payment. It was an optional payment for the borrower, so we couldn't reduce the APR. But let me check something real quick.
But if it,
And that
it's
amount
not a-
actually only reduces the freedom point by 1.5 years by making that extra 6382 payment per month
right.
versus I think you had over
Yep.
10 years.
Right. No, that's what, and that's accurate with what we were showing.
Okay, good.
Right. We were saying it'll pay off your loan 18.63 months early.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Right,
perfect.
right. So there's our year and a half.
So
Um,
then our savings over the short term is really negligible in this case. I mean, honestly, they're equal. In fact, yeah,
right,
it-
right.
they're pretty
Because
there.
it's not taking into account that you're getting that 63.82 every month,
It
the
is
300.
it is taking into account because we don't actually include principal paid in this calculation. This is just interest and MI plus closing costs equals total cost for each of the programs here. And then the difference between those figures is what we're getting this $3 at. So by making that extra $63 monthly payment, we've reduced the amount of interest they've paid over the first 5 years in a very limited effect. That's why it's so close together. Even
What? So, sorry to interrupt. Go make that 360 or make that, yeah, make that 360 and see what that says.
and I only put 5 months in here. This needs to be
Right.
years, not 5 months. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I should have used a, I don't know why I have my default so low. Here, let's put this at, we'll make it 30 years for both.
Yeah. And now let's see what that says.
Okay, so there we go. Over the life of the loan, you're gonna save $30,000 in interest as opposed to not doing the direct rewards program.
Right. Now I want to look at this real quick. Right. And then, but you're also getting $22,975 in direct rewards. And that's where we got to the 50,000.
So that is only represented, I mean, you can see it in your equity growth here. Right here, the difference between these two figures. But it's not going to be represented in the total cost here because we're not, I'm sorry. We would see it, actually, why are we not seeing the principal paid going down? Oh, because they're totally paid off at 360.
Right, right. Totally paid off. But no, but I think you're right. You are seeing it. And
We'd have to go shorter than the 360 months because both of them are going to pay off the loan at 360. So they'll both pay identical amount of principal.
oh, right. But you are seeing it in the amount of interest paid, though.
You see it in the amount of interest paid. That's that $30,000 savings between
Right.
these. And you'd see the principal reduction payment in the long term, but only if you select, I want to say it was net worth for this. Let's make sure. No, not net worth. I'm sorry, it's principal paid. Maybe it was even interest in MI. Let's check. Oh, there we go. Reduction payment. So that's the amount of principal that's being paid as principal reduction. So that $23,000 is that's that $63 multiplied by 30 years.
Yep, that is.
So we kind of see it together. You're going to save $30,000 in interest, and we're going to pay $23,000 in principal on your behalf. So between the two of them, there's your $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
But they're different animals. You know, this is apples and oranges, which is why we don't combine them into a total cost savings in the middle. That short-term savings is really just isolating the unrecoverable costs of the loan. And when we're looking at this calc, we're not including principal at all because you're retaining that in the form of equity in every case.
Yeah.
So I think if I was going to show this, I might show it this way. I'd show it with and without. I might not try and compare it against a competitor at a lower rate, just because the offset value of this 63, especially we were looking at $1 million loan before, and that was only 75 bucks. The offset value definitely wouldn't have been anywhere near that 0.25. At the 500 level though, this might actually work. So like, let's put it.
Just go throw another product. Go through that same thing in there at 4.75.
That's exactly what I was going to do. So let's do that. We'll add another product, and we're going to copy the first one without rewards. And this will just be called competitor. And then we'll make this slightly lower. I think it does work at 500,000. I think it just wasn't going to work at $1 million because that offset was just too great. All right, so yeah, you save about an extra $1,000 here. Here, I'll remove the other one from the report real quick. Okay. So we want to get rid of that one here. Come on, recast. Let's go. You can do it. I'll make it do it myself. All right, there we go. So you're gonna save 75 bucks a month on the competitor, but over the life of the loan, you'll pay $900 less interest. And for your total, yeah, there's your $23,000 worth of principal that's being paid with the rewards. So you're saving, matter of fact, we should narrow this down to the payoff point. So to 28.5 years instead of 30 years.
Right.
So let's go back there. And I know we can't do 28.5, so I'm going to do 28. All right, so there we go. So $21,000 difference there because you will have already paid it off at that point.
Right.
And then if we look at our loan balances, you can see with the competitor, you still have a significant chunk that you've got to pay down. There's a lot of remaining balance left.
Right. Huh. Okay.
So this one actually does look positive for the rewards.
Right.
Of course, the obvious exception here is that the competitor's monthly payment is $75 lower, which is actually a little more than we're paying in on here at 63.
Right. Correct. Okay. Yeah. Well, so I think you've shown me how we can look at it with how it currently sits in here. Any suggestions on how to make it cleaner than having to go to two different screens? Is that, or are we? And so there's no way that we're going to be able to show it decreasing the effective rate.
Correct. Yeah, we don't do that at all because of compliance. We're just showing the note rate and the APR based on traditional amortization schedule.
Right.
But what I might suggest, and I know it seems like a cop out here, but there is a payment notes field where you can put whatever you want in there.
Yeah. No, you showed me that one.
Yeah, so I might put something extra in there about it to talk about that effective rate. Or I might say, you know, whatever the biggest selling point is for the rewards program, I'd probably put it in here.
Well, the biggest selling point is, you know, what is that you're decreasing the interest rate over the life of the loan, the actual effective interest rate. But I get we run into trade issues there.
What is did you know the calculation that's being used for that effective rate? Is that somewhere in the Excel?
It's not giving. No, I don't. It is somewhere in the Excel though. Yes. All the formulas are in here. But I'm going to ask that question to the creator of the program and document.
Okay.
Because so if you know the formula for that, but it's still like to be able to put it into a TCA for Mortgage Coach, we're still not quite there in showing it the way that Mark wants to show it to consumers.
So in your best world, you know, if you had open dev here and you could do anything you wanted with this,
right.
How would you show it? I mean, what would be your primary point? You know, how would you accentuate what needs to be shown?
Well, the primary point would be to, number one, show the total savings over the life of the loan, and to show the net effective interest rate over the life of the loan. Those two things.
So the total savings over the life of the loan, we would have to push this back out to 30 years and just look at the total PITI, the cash flow between the two loans.
Right. And it gets into two different spots because I understand why, but we're not able to show that that rewards money is not coming. It's coming as a reward, and it's not the borrower's money that they're paying down. No, you totally showed me where everything was, and it added up to the savings that we were.
I wonder if we could make the label clearer, like call this lender paid principal or something like that.
Right,
That might make it a little bit better.
right. Yeah,
Here, let's do that real quick. Oh God, Jacob.
you're getting close. I I type way worse than that, Jake.
What was it? Minus 63,
6382.
82. Okay, cool. Let's just make sure that carried through. Okay, good. Okay, so now if we were to look at it, okay, we get lender paid principal offsetting the reduction payment, which keeps our total payment in line. Okay, looks a little better.
Yep.
But you'd still have to explain it. Why are we showing
Right,
up
right.
for the same amount here?
Okay. So going back to your fantastic question there, Jacob. Could we take this and somehow make this work in Mortgage Coach and a TCA? And if so, what's that? And be compliant?
So when you say make it work, you're talking about showing the effective rate.
Yeah.
That's the part that makes me pucker.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm really concerned with it. I don't even like showing a blended rate on these things, and we do show them.
Yep. Yeah. And I hear you. I hear you.
But that's not to be said. That's not to say that we can't do something to make it, at least we can draw it out a little bit or something.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's right. I'm like, when we present this, because I also originate, don't just market. I use this in almost every conversation I have with borrowers.
Okay.
It's super effective for me. Mark, our CEO, loves it. And you guys answered the one question one of the two questions he had was, is it hooked into Encompass now? And yes, it is. And this one, if there was a better way to show this, to show what I'm trying to show here, then I think we have we're closer to a green light.
You know, the one thing that sticks out of my head that could be a possibility, and this is in no way a promise of dev, okay?
No, I got it.
That because my devs would be really pissed off if they heard me. Yep. So one thing that we might be able to do as kind of a wish list item here is to make right now we don't have a paid by option on the principal reduction fields.
Right.
So when we're in the reinvestment strategy, this is always just going to be paid by borrower.
Yep.
So maybe there's a way we can put like a drop down indicator here that says who's going to be paying this.
Okay.
So it doesn't, so you don't have to do the offset. At least that would
right.
fix the offset problem. It
Right.
still wouldn't accentuate the I mean, the principal over the life of the loan is only going to show if you do life of loan long term, and that's
right. Right.
I really can't do anything about effective rate. That's the one that just gives me major pause.
Okay. All right. No, I appreciate the straight shot there. Okay. Can you ask your crew if we could do that change and then see what that, because then I think what would happen is it would show that savings as one chunk, wouldn't it?
It would be identical on the output. The only difference would be you wouldn't see the monthly cost difference here. You wouldn't have to use this guy anymore.
Right. Huh. Okay. All right. Okay. I got you.
I mean, it's something I can put on the wish list. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if is it gonna be enough for you, Bo, though? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. Can you just send, because I don't think I have access. Can you send me that report?
mhm.
And I wanna go over it now that we've
Let's,
got a better explanation.
let me enable it with all the programs, just so we can have the one without
Yeah,
reward.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, there we go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Jacob, I think it's worth asking your team, the what if. And
I mean, I know that we can do it. The question is, how long would it take us to get into a sprint? Is that well past your sales cycle?
I got you.
Um,
I got you.
and then, of course, is it going to be enough for you? I mean, I hate to put something in
Well,
action.
that's what I want to take this and I want to, show them what that it's not going to get us all the way across the goal line here and I'm pointing at my other screen over here.
I got you. That's my goal line too.
And to see if that is enough.
Okay.
Because when I only got into the business about 4 or 5 years ago, and I learned, I say most of what I know, watching Dave's interviews
Oh, nice.
and building TCAs as I was getting into the business.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, really. So I recommend, any new LOs goes to your YouTube channel and watch those interviews and watch all your videos on there because I think they're fantastic. So
I just thought of one other thing that might help. When you leave a report in a certain state, say for instance, I leave this 30-year modal popped out and I leave the, and let me do it in a preview real quick here. Whatever state you leave the presentation in is the state the borrower will receive it first.
Yep.
The reason I mention that is because if we want to draw attention to this figure, for example, we can put verbiage in the long term that talks about that figure specifically. And then we just leave it in this state. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's go to the long term. Let's see. Extra stuff about reports. Okay, so I put it in there. I generate a link for my borrower. And because I left it with that one window open, when they go to click on this link, this is the experience they're going to get. They're going to get your disclosure, and then immediately whatever you left open starts that way. So you could start with this screen and say, look, here's the extra principal offset from this rewards program. All right, now close it down and let's take a look at everything else on the report.
Right. Because it is showing you your savings over 360 months, right?
Well, and that's just cash flow savings. That's why that's so short. The real savings over the 360 months is we would have to remove one of these programs on here because right now they're all comparing against the
No,
without.
because, but it is, no, right. But what it is showing you is that over the 360 months, right, with rewards,
You'd save 30 grand in interest, definitely.
right, your savings are 28,000 at the 5%. Your savings are less at 27,000 at the 4.75%. Plus, you're getting the other 22,000 in rewards money.
I think it's a great way to spin it. I like it.
So in this case, you are right. It is showing. So in this case, it would be better to go with the rewards program.
Yeah, the rewards program here definitely beats out the competitor. I mean, it's only by $1,000 over the life of the loan at this point, but like you said, you also want to consider that extra principal is being paid to reduce the freedom points. So you've got a year and a half.
Right, because you're getting that bonus payment given to you.
Right, and then you've got a year and a half of no payments on the end.
Right. And then there's that as well. Okay, all right.
So here, let me give you this link real quick, and I'm going to leave it in that form where it's got the
yeah,
it's popped out for you. That is just in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
Well, I got a question for you, just because we've never talked about it. Realistically, how many LOs are you looking to get this to?
Well, here is, well, that's another topic for a conversation. We have 100 and, hold on, why can't I get over to your screen? There it
You have
is.
about, you have about 110, right?
We're about, I think we just added another group, so we're probably about 113. We're growing. All right, hold on, I just want to go grab show chat. All right, God dang it. Where's my, there it goes. Okay. There's, I just want to grab that link, put it up on my screen. So my when I was at Finance of America and the number of people that actually used Mortgage Coach, it took a good year for us to have it under our belt when that happened. And I mean, even though I was a new LO, I trained my branch manager on how to build a TCA, because I went with Dave's rule of 10 and I just kept building them. And then I got, I mean, Jacob, you just showed how quick it was to build that. You don't need to fill out every single thing. And at the time, rates were a little bit lower and we were doing a lot of refis. So punching in current mortgage plus, what their refi programs might look like was, super easy. So my long way of saying, I think the adoption is the toughest hurdle to get over. But I think it's a good time to introduce something like this that does take a little bit of time. And so I have another program that you guys are probably familiar with, MBS Highway. Easier and tells a different story, and it's very current what's happening right now. I did with their permission, I did a special deal where I produce all the marketing pieces, and I only introduce things once a month, and then we'll customize them for each of the LOs. And I found that our adoption from our 110 LOs was way higher than if I had given everybody their own enterprise MBS highway account. So, and so I'll have our business development person will have a login for that, and they'll help facilitate better use and more use of those programs. Because if I were to even give them something as simple as MBS Highway, them going in and utilizing, the 15 different options that you can have in there, I could just see the adoption. It just wasn't there. And so when I tried it this way, when I landed here at Directors, I said, all right, I'm going to approach this MBS Highway a little bit differently. And as soon as I shot out some of the basic programs, I got immediate request once we had our monthly meeting with our Zoom chat with all of the reps, all of our LOs, and that the adoption that we were getting was much quicker. So I'm like, all right, so I know that doesn't work as we look for an enterprise solution for all the LOs, but I'm like, all right, as LOs want to use more of MBS Highway, then I said, all right, you can have your, I just don't think us doing an enterprise solution with that and not having, only having 30% adoption is the way to go. I would just say, all right, the 20 or 30 LOs that really want to maximize and use all the marketing tools behind MBS Highway, well, it won't be an enterprise discount, but it'll be a different discount, and I know who's using it. And maybe they pay for all of it, or maybe we pay for 50%. So when I got to Mortgage Coach, I'm like, all right, this is a really good program based on what we're trying to show with Direct. I'm like, all right, how can I take that kind of unwieldy thing that I showed you guys and put that into Mortgage Coach and get people to start using TCAs, because I think they're incredibly powerful. So I'm like, all right, getting 110 LOs, even with the best training, to refine their skills on that, the adoption is not high. So I'm thinking, okay, over the longer term, how do I get more LOs to adopt this by making my business development manager an expert in this, to the point where the request that they are getting from their LO team is saying, all right, you guys are using this, you know, every day now. So, you know, it's worth the investment to get your own account and learn how to do this.
When you brought MBS Highway on, what kind of training was there?
I didn't do anything with, I did it with MBS. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And they agreed to what I wanted to do. And I said, my goal is to get more of our LOs that want to use it themselves. So I said, let me do it as marketing director. I'm going to, you know, post this and see what, and it's the same, you know, same 40 LOs that we're getting consistent requests from for the reports. So I think I've had 2 go in for a basic package. They don't have all the bells and whistles because I'm telling you, so many, even the ones I sit next to, and I've shown them how I do it, they're not going to do it. You know, some of them are just old school.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's going to take, a whole 10 minutes out of my day as I'm building a present. I've found that I can do it quicker and we'll customize it and pop it out to them. And so far, it hasn't been to the point where it's overwhelming, customizing some things for them. But I'm getting adoption and people are really utilizing cost of weighting analysis, basic things like the real estate report card, just simple appreciation things that I know that we wouldn't have gotten that kind of adoption even by those 40 folks. But my best example is we have a really good business development person in Arizona. We're building Arizona pretty quickly. And that she really has control over their CRMs as well, and is putting out, basic flyers and single property websites and social media posts because she has her logins. And so she has developed them. And so, each of the LOs has, whatever our monthly cost is for the CRM, because you got to have that because it's attached to Compass. So I'm, so I'm using that as our kind of model on, how do I get more adoption is what I'm going after for these tools.
Sorry, I have a visitor.
Oh yeah, she pops in and out because you've got your
I know the
screen.
background is all messed up.
Yeah, that's all
Sorry,
right.
sweetie. You're like a ghost.
So
Here, I move over.
Hey there. What's your name?
Karina.
Karina. That's a very pretty name. You want to help build us a presentation here, Karina? All right, fantastic. Nice to meet you, Karina.
Can you get up for a little bit so I can finish this phone call?
Why?
Because I'm on a phone call, sweetie. Come on,
Okay, bye.
go to mommy. Thank you.
So anyway, I think you guys have probably heard that dilemma before.
So yeah, and actually we try to build the contract to drive adoption.
Yep.
So we've been doing this for the last, 4 or 5 months, where we come up with a minimum number that you think you could do. So an
Right.
enterprise deal does not mean everybody's on board.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be, could be. And in a perfect world, for me, it would be, but we don't expect that. So what we do is we, pick a number and say that minimum is 35 users.
Mhm.
So we'll say, okay, we'll do a contract for 35 users. And what we do is the first month will be the implementation fee. That's what you pay.
Right.
The second and third month, you don't pay anything.
Yep.
The fourth and the fifth month, you pay for those 35 users.
Yep.
And then at the end of that fifth month, going into that 6th month, you show of hands, who wants to stay with Mortgage Coach?
Okay.
Now you're locked in for 35, but if we can get 45, 50, 60, there's your contract.
Okay, I got you.
The way that we drive the adoption, though, is we give everybody in all 113 LOs, whoever wants it in your company, we give them Mortgage Coach
Okay.
with the integration. So they're there and they can go through the 5 to 7 1-hour trainings. We might need Jacob for these trainings for the rewards program.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, the trainings, and we make sure that they're comfortable and they can use it, so
Well,
it's kind of like a trial.
okay, okay. Okay, draw me up some, boilerplate thing that, what you just described.
Yeah.
Um,
How many
That's-
users for the minimum in your
What's
mind, realistically?
what's that?
For that minimum user amount, what's realistic? What's the number I should use?
Let's go 30.
30?
Um, here's the other thing that I was gonna put out there, that I'm talking with Anthony Leverts, he's head of our recruiting. And we are starting to see, we're recruiting veteran teams that have, books of business, but we're still getting some people that did what I did and came from a completely different business and decided to get into this. So, I probably have maybe this many that have done that in the last few months. And so and what I want to work on, and I've told, by using MBS Highway and Mortgage Coach, those are the two things that help me learn the strategy about conversations and how to have those, and tapping into the YouTube and interviews with Dave and all the videos, and also the same thing with Barry Habib on what they do. And those were the two programs I utilized every single day, and I still do. So my thought was, all right, how can Mortgage Coach help with those? I mean, I think I have the answers, help with those entry level LOs that are coming in. And I think that'll be another selling point to our team, in that, we would say, okay, you get, X number of months gratis for, are we getting a solution live here?
Actually, I was just going to show you something that I think might help.
I love it.
And Joe just popped on too.
Hey,
Okay.
Joe.
So in terms of new originators, one of the cool things that we've added is we've added training elements within our system, and
Yeah.
these are all customizable. So like these are kind of the plain vanilla trainings, but
Yeah.
we can customize one specifically for you that's called
Right.
how to do your direct rewards presentation.
Right.
And what happens is when they select it, it gives them this little toolbox area, and they can lodge this on the right if they want to, or they can, leave it up at the top, but it tells them, here's what you got to fill out.
Right.
Do this, do this, do this. All right, great. Click next.
Right.
You get to the next
I like it.
screen. Here's what you do. And then you get to the products. Here's what you're going to put in for your product information, closing costs. What are you going to enter? So it
Right.
just really gives them a good hand-holding experience for their first few times. And they can select this training anytime they want in
Love
order to do it. So this might be really helpful for those new folks.
Yeah. But I also want, like, we don't really have a training program for new LOs, period. And so that is, Anthony has coaching he goes individually, but I also think what you guys have and the interviews that Dave does with, it's such a good variety. I mean, that's how I learned not only how to build TCAs, but learned about conversations and strategy, and what, the most successful people are doing, and, how to really, figure out what your lane is as you're building your database.
Now that makes a lot of sense.
So I think that can be a really nice, I really like that on helping, but I think your just overall knowledge that sits in institutional knowledge, that sits in your videos and your interviews are really, really good. And that's another reason why I want to try to get our team on board with this.
Nice. No, we thought the same thing. So we put a
Right.
place directly inside of the
I've got to, I just got the high sign, so I've got to roll and go talk budgets here.
Okay.
But I think we ended in a good spot, and Jacob, really appreciate it. Joe, thanks for that little addition. But let me, I'm gonna brainstorm with Anthony a little bit. And Chris, if you come back with, just a baseline on 30
Yeah.
users, but we have 115, I think, what that could look like. All right.
Yep, and I'll send you the recording of
I
this as
I
well.
really appreciate the time.
Hey, thanks for your time, Bo. Take care,
Yeah,
man.
thank you guys. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.